Hi, this is Munson from Munson Music, and we're going to talk about how you can do an old B.B. King song called Lucille. And actually, if you want to play along with B.B. King, then what you want to do is tune down a half step. He's tuned E flat, B flat, G flat, D flat, A flat, and E flat on the open strings. But we're just going to talk about how you can strum along with it in standard tuning. And it starts out on an E major chord. And when you play E major, first finger is going to go to the G string on the first fret. Second finger is going to go to the A string on the second fret. Third finger is going to go to the D string on the second fret. And if you strum all those together, it makes an E major chord and it sounds really, really happy. And then from E major, we're going to be going to an A major chord. And the way you play A major, first finger is going to go to the D on the second fret. Second finger is going to go to the G on the second fret. Third finger is going to go to the B string on the second fret. And if you strum all those together, it makes an A major chord. It sounds really, really happy. And then from A major, we're going to be going back to E major. And then some more E major. And then we go back to A major. And then more A major. And then we go to E major. And another E major. And then we go to B7. The way you play B7, first finger is going to go D string on the first fret. Second finger is going to go to the A string on the second fret. Third finger is going to go to the G string on the second fret. And the pinky is going to go to the high E string on the second fret. And you want to try and avoid the low E string and kind of do just the A string to the high E string. And that to get your clearest sound on that. That's called E7. It sounds a little messed up. It's kind of supposed to be. And then we go to A major again. And then we go to E major. And at the very end we do E major and then a B7. And then we kind of start that chord pattern again, which is a very 12-bar blues type of form where we're doing kind of E and A. And actually there's another video that I recorded for Before You Accuse Me by Eric Clapton that you may want to check out for some other blues licks for this type of style, because it would completely apply to this song. But just to try going through this, a lot of times with a song like this in 4/4 time, I like using what I call a strum pattern to make it a little bit more interesting. And one of my favorite strum patterns is down, down, up, up, down, up for a 4/4 like this. And you can kind of swing it a little bit like blues. So if you took the E, for instance, and just kind of did down, down, up, up, down, up, down, down, up, down, up, down, down, up, down, up, down, down, up, down. And what I'm doing to swing it is a lot of times an eighth note is if you're tapping your foot. We divide that foot tap into two parts, and we normally call that an eighth note in music. It's kind of the down, up of your foot, right? 1, 2, 1, 2. But if you're doing a blues like this to make it sound a little bit more bluesy, what you want to do with your down ups is to do what's called a swing eighth note, where you do the down for longer than the up. So you're kind of thinking long, short, long, short, long, short, long, short, long, short, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up. So you may want to try that with that strum pattern where you got the down, down, up, down, up, down, down, up, down, up, down, down, up, down, up, long, short, short, long, short, that kind of thing. But just to try that through our form, you got E down, down, up, down, up, A down, down, up, down, E down, down, up, down, up, down, down, up, down, A down, down, up, down, A down, down, up, down, E down, down, up, down, E down, down, up, down, B7 down, down, up, down, A down, down, up, down, E down, down, up, down. But then on the last E and the last B7, you want to kind of half that strum pattern. So on the E, we're just going to go down, down, and then go to B7 and go down, down, and that's kind of called a turnaround because the B7 is really setting us up to start over on the E. So just to try that again, you got the E down, B7 down, down, and you just start all over again. So you have E down, up, down, up, A down, down, up, down, up, E down, down, up, down, up, E down, down, up, down, up, A down, down, up, down, up, A down, down, up, down, up, E down, down, up, down, up, E down, down, up, down, B7 down, down, up, down, up, A down, down, up, down, up, E down, down, chord pattern to Lucille by B.B. King. But a lot of times what makes that really, really interesting is his lead and his solo licks through the song. And B.B. King is a big fan of one of my favorite scales called a pentatonic scale. And what penta means is 5, and tonic means tone, and scale means ladder. So this is the 5-tone ladder. But it's basically where he's pulling most of his lead licks from for the song. And the easiest way to play a pentatonic scale, actually this particular one, E minor, is G's and A's and B's and D's and E's. So as long as you're playing those 5 notes on the guitar, that's a pentatonic scale. So the easiest way to play that would be if you just took your pick and just kind of strummed all the strings. That's your pentatonic scale, because you got G and A and B and D and then 2 E's. So all of those notes actually could work to play solo lead over the top of Lucille. And like I said, B.B. King is tuned down a half step, and there's actually a lot of other rhythm things that you could add from my video for Before You Accuse Me if you're interested in looking at other ways to work the rhythm part of the song. But just to work a little bit of the lead, you've got all the opens that are part of that scale. And then the next piece of the scale, if you go to 3rd fret on the low E, that's a G note. If you go to 2nd fret on the A, that's a B note. If you go to 2nd fret on the D, that's a E note. If you go to 2nd fret on the G, that's an A note. And if you go to 3rd fret on the B, that's a D note. And if you go to the 3rd fret on the high E, then that's a G note. So we kind of have all the opens that are part of it. And the next piece from the thick E to the high E, we got 3, 2, 2, 2, and then 3 and 3. And then from there, if you go to 5th fret on the low E, that's an A note. If you go to 5th on the A, it's a D note. 5th on the D is a G note. 4th on the G string is a B note. 5th fret on the B string is an E note. And then 5th fret on the high E is an A note. So you could kind of do the next piece of the scale would be 5, 5, 5, and then 4, 5, 5. Well then from there, if you go all the way to 7th fret on the low E, that's a B note, and then 7th on the A is an E note, 7th on the D is an A note, 7th on the G note, or the G string is a D note, and then if you go to 8th fret on the B string, then that's a G note, and then if you go to the high E on the 7th fret, then that's a B note and kind of part of the scale too. So the next piece is kind of 7, 7, 7, 7, 8, 7. And then the next piece, if you go all the way to 10th fret on the low E, then that's a D note, and then 10 on the A is a G note, and then 9 on the D is a B note, and then 9 on the G is a E note, and then a 10 on the B string is a note, and then 10 on the high E is a D note. So that's kind of the next piece of the scale is doing the D, G, or 10, 10, and then 9, 9, and then 10, 10. And then the last piece actually from the 12th fret, all the notes on the 12th fret are the same as the open strings. And so since all our open strings are part of the scale, all the 12s are 2. So we're going to have E and A and D and G and B and E all on the 12th fret. And then from there, everything starts over again. Like where we had 3rd fret on the low E, now we're going to be on 15 on the low E. So if you took 12 and kind of added it to all those patterns that we were just playing, you're going to end up with the same notes. And that's called an octave if you've got a G note to another G note, like we do on the guitar from 3rd fret on the low E to 15th fret on the low E. So you can actually think about 15 as 3rd fret and then kind of have that 3rd fret, 2nd fret, 2nd fret, 2nd fret, 15th fret, or 3rd fret, 3rd fret, but you're really playing 15, 14, 14, 14, 15, 15. So those are kind of all the notes that are kind of part of this scale. One way to kind of play around with them could be kind of fun, since after going over all those notes in one place, you could try going from one place to another with some interesting licks. Like for instance, you could take the high E on the 3rd fret, that G note that's kind of part of the scale, and if you kind of hold that down and keep a little pressure on it, you can kind of get that note to slide to the 5th fret on the E string, which is also part of the scale. And you can get 5th fret to slide to 7th fret, which is the next note of the scale. And you can get that to slide to 10th fret on the high E, which is part of the scale. And you can get 10th fret to go to 12th fret, which is part of the scale. And you can get 12th fret to slide to 15, which is also part of the scale. So you kind of got 3, 5, 5, 7, 7, 10, 10, 12, 12, 15. And something else you can do with slides is you could try sliding back down. You could take 15 and try slide to 12, or 12 to 10, or 10 to 7, or 7 to 5, or 5 to 3, or you could even take that and then work it to the open string, or try and do a slide to the open string. Something else you may want to try for lead licks is doing pull-offs, and what a pull-off is where you kind of press into the string a little bit and then let your finger kind of fall off the string. So I was doing that from 3rd fret on the high E, is that 3 to open pull-off, and you could actually do that same lick on the B string from 3 to open, and when you go to the G string you go to 2nd fret for the scale, and then D string 2nd, and then A string 2nd, and then low E 3rd. So you can even use that as a lick over the top of it too, where you got kind of working pull-offs. Another lick you may want to try is doing hammer-ons. And what a hammer-on is where, like for instance, if you played the open string and took the 1st finger and just kind of put them down with enough force on the 3rd fret, that's called a hammer-on. And you could work the hammer-on to 3rd fret, or you could work it as a hammer-on to 5th fret, or you could work it as a hammer-on to 7th fret, or 10th fret, or 12th fret, and it's still going to sound really, really good over the top of Lucille because we're still playing just those pentatonic scale notes. Something else that B.B. King really likes to do is something called bends. And what a bend is where you play a note. I'm going to take 12th fret on the high E for this because that's one of the easier places to do bends. And if you play that note and kind of push up and into the guitar at the same time, you can get the note to bend. And that's very, very bluesy. So you may want to take like that 12th fret on the high E and try it, 12th fret on the B and try it, 12th on the G and try it, 12 on the D and try it, 12 on the A and try it, 12 on the low E and try it. So that could be another something that you want to try and add in, and you want to kind of imagine yourself trying to talk with the guitar with these notes, which can be kind of a language analogy, but it makes a lot of sense. And then from something else you may want to try to do is instead of just playing straight across the guitar with the patterns like we were doing, like the 3 2 2 2 3 3 and all the opens, and 5 5 5 4 5 5 or 7 7 7 7 8 7 or 10 10 9 9 10 10 or 12 12 12 12 12 12, is you may want to put those together, and a lot of times these are numbered patterns for pentatonic scale. So if you took the open E and played the 3rd fret on the low E, and then like 2 notes per string, right, is what we played. And then if you go to the A string and do open to 2nd, and on the D you could do open to 2nd, and the G you could, and on the B you could do open to 3rd, and then on the high E you could do the open to 3rd. Then we would call that pattern number 1. So going open 3rd, open 2nd, open 2nd, open 2nd, open 3rd, open 3rd. Well then we could take the next part of the scale where we got 3rd fret on the low E to 5th fret on the low E, and then 2nd on the A to 5th on the A, and then 2nd on the D and 5th on the D, and then 2nd on the G and then 4th on the G, and then 3rd on the B to 5th on the B, and then high E on the 3rd to high E on the 5th, and we would call that pattern number 2. So now you got 3 5 2 5 2 5 2 4 3 5 3 5. And actually the top couple notes of those, actually B.B. King for whatever reason is a big fan of the top 2 strings, E and B, in pattern 2. So he likes to do a lot with what's called the box. And what the box is where you play 3rd fret to the 5th fret on the high E and the 3rd fret to the 5th fret on the B string. So there's a lot you could even do with just those 4 notes. So I'm kind of taking hammer-ons and bends and all those things we were just talking about and putting them together. But then what I would do is keep on working with the rest of the patterns. So the next piece you go to 5th on the low E, and we have 5 to 7 on the E, and then 5 to 7 on the A, and then 5 to 7 on the D, and then 4 to 7 on the G, and then 5 to 8 on the B, and then 5 to 7 on the high E. And we would call that pattern number 3. So now you got 5 7 5 7 5 7 4 7 5 8 5 7. So then from there we could go to pattern number 4, and so we go low E on the 7, and then go to 10th fret on the low E, and then we have the same thing on the A string, 7 on the A to 10 on the A, and then we'd have 7 on the D to 9th fret on the D, and then 7 on the G to 9th fret on the G, and then we have 8 to 10 on the B string, and then we have 7 on the high E to 10th fret on the high E. So from the low E to the high, you got 7, 10, 7, 10, 7, 9, 7, 9, 8, 10, 7, 10. And then from there, if you go all the way to 10th fret to kind of start a 2-note per string pattern, you'd have 10 to 12, and then we have 10 to 12 on the A, and then 7 to 12 on the D, and then 7 to 9 on the G, and then 10 to 12 on the B, and then 10 to 12 on the high E. And so now we got 10 to 12, 10, 12, 9, 12, 9, 12, 10, 12, 10, 12. And at the very end, after 12th fret comes along, we're really starting everything over again. So if you took low E on the 12 and to 15 on the low E, that's the same thing as open to 3rd, because we're playing the same notes E and then G. And randomly, this is an E minor pentatonic scale. So in most songs that start on an E minor, you could actually start with that. And that's what I like about this last pattern. It's kind of pattern 1 coming back. So whatever note you're playing with the first finger on the E string, that's what minor pentatonic scale it is. So it would work over E minor chords, or E7 in blues, or an E major and Lucille. But the note you're playing with the other finger on the 15th fret on the low E is what's called the major pentatonic scale. So this scale would actually work for an E minor song, or it would work for a G major song. So it's kind of cool in this one pattern. You've got your first finger that's kind of matching the minor pentatonic, and you've got your other finger that's kind of matching the major pentatonic. But that last pattern, and I think this is the most useful pattern actually, is pattern number 1. From the low E you'd have 12 to 15, and then on the A string you got 12 to 14, and then on the D you got 12 to 14, and then on the G you got 12 to 14, and then on the B you got 12 to 15, and then on the high you got 12 to 15. So you got 12, 15, 12, 14, 12, 14, 12, 14, 12, 15, 12, 15. So that can be really kind of cool to work with those notes and work through those patterns for Lucille. Now something else that B.B. King also does for this song is some of his licks actually are working out of a major pentatonic scale. And so instead of E minor pentatonic, if you wanted to make this an E major pentatonic, then what you would do is take your other finger for pattern 1 and line it up to the 12th fret E. And now you'd be starting pattern 1 from 9th fret on the low E, or actually on all the strings. So you may want to try that too, where you'd have low E from 9 to 12, and then on the A string you have 9 to 11, and D string 9 to 11, and then G string 9 to 11, and then B string 9 to 12, and then high E 9 to 12. So if you want to work some lead guitar kind of things over Lucille, that could be a really good scale to play around with too, is that E major pentatonic instead of the minor pentatonic. So anyway, that could be kind of fun, just kind of taking the scale and just seeing what you can say with it, kind of talking with the guitar. But that's the basis of how you could play through Lucille by B.B. King. And what, like I said in the very beginning, if you want to play along with the recording, what you want to do is tune your guitar down a half step so you can play with B.B. King and mess around with those solo patterns on the pentatonic scale. So good luck!